Hello everyone, Rabbi Abe here. I'm excited to share with you some of the secrets of the month of Gemini. Coming up in a few days, the new moon of Gemini, according to the lunar calendar or the Kabbalistic calendar. And Gemini has within it great secrets that we can greatly benefit from. In fact, the whole essence of Gemini is revealing the secrets. Revealing the secrets. In fact, we know every month has a letter that is designated by the Book of Formation, right here, the Book of Formation by Abraham the Patriarch, about 4,000 years old, that tells us that the essence of the spiritual force, or the essence of the planet and the constellation, is ruled by the DNA of two letters. And this month, the letter that is ruling the planet, of course, that rules Gemini, which is Mercury, of course, in the physical level. Many people, talk about the other planets, but we're dealing with the revealed planets, the 7 revealed planets. Mercury is one of those that gives the force behind Gemini. And in Hebrew, that's Kochav, very significant, the planet Mercury, and of course the constellation itself of Gemini, which is ruled by the letter Resh. Now, we are going to explain about these letters. What's the secret behind the letters? How does it affect the month? How does it affect us? There's a lot we can get from Gemini. First off, of course, communication is number one. But communication is many things. It's not just communication between us and other people. It's between us and ourselves, meaning the communication that takes place between our soul and our body. And because Gemini has the clearest pipeline of communication between what we call the Creator's light and us, the vessel to receive that light this month, and because it's Mercury and because it's Gemini, and we'll understand what that means, we have tools to assist us to do that. You can scan the QR code or use the download link in the description box, and you can download for free of charge, of course, as always, the tools, spiritual tools that help us tap into the positive forces and the energies of the month of Gemini. Okay, so what else does it have for us? Well, hidden opportunities this month also are abundant, okay? Because again, this month deals with the concept of secret. If you take the 2 letters of the month of Gemini, it spells actually a Hebrew word, and that word is Raz. Raz, R-A-Z, Raz. Now, Raz literally means secret, okay? Secret. And that's very interesting because Raz also numerically in Gematria, in Hebrew, is 207. 207. Now, what else has numerically 207? Well, the word for light in Hebrew, or Aleph, Vav, Resh. Resh is 200, Vav is 6, and Aleph is 7, 207. Aleph is 1, 207. So, wow. You mean the light is concealed, which makes it a secret, and the secrets can be revealed in the month of Gemini, which is also why the Torah or the Bible, Mount Sinai, happened in the beginning, in the first week of the month of Gemini, in the 6th day of lunar Gemini. But we'll get back to that. Okay, so what is the energy of Gemini? What do we want from it? First off, what we need to know about Gemini, and this may not be a surprise, is there's a duality in Gemini. Duality. If you're a Gemini, you may call it a good guy and a bad guy, but there is what we call the light of the soul, and the shadow of the body. Light and shadow. Now, look at it this way. I don't want to be showing our age here, but, those of you who are watching the video, remember, once upon a time, we used to take pictures with film. Okay? Film. Now, if you don't know what film is because you're brought up in the digital age and you think pictures, were always taken with an iPhone or with an Android or whatever. No, actually, we used to use something called film. And this material, you would put it in a camera, and however it works, it would capture an image, however it did that, using light and so on. And then you wouldn't get the pictures right away, unless, of course, you were using what we called a Polaroid camera, which was actually a big modern invention in those days. But actually, most pictures, and I think still some professional photographers still use film, but this film needed to be developed. Now, when you develop the film, it's very interesting. I remember when we used to go take the film, you get back two things. Okay, you get back the photographs, and it's interesting that the technical name for the photographs was the positive. Interesting, okay? You may not know that, the positive. Now, the positive didn't mean the good one, but those were the pictures that we enjoyed looking at. But you also got back something else. You got back the negatives. Now, what were the negatives? I mean, again, those of you who don't know about film, they were not the bad ones. They were, what would we call it? A negative image of the photograph. So while it was an identical image, it was in reverse, let's say. It's dark. We used to be able to see through it, hold it up to the light. You'll see the picture, you'll see the image of the photograph, but it's not a proper photograph. Let's put it that way. So you know what a negative is, you understand. Now, if you wanted more pictures, and this is important, okay, it's going to come in soon. If you wanted more pictures to multiply maybe a certain photograph, you liked it very much, you would take the negative and take it back to, wherever you developed your film, and they'll make you more pictures from what? From the negative. They would make you more positives from the negative. Now, I don't know if you're catching my drift meanwhile, but stay with it, and you'll begin to understand that this is a very good analogy for the month of Gemini and why there is this duality. Because there's a tremendous light, tremendous spiritual energy that exists in Gemini, but it comes in this form of positive and negative, okay? Positive and a negative. All right, so let's explore a little bit. We know Geminis tend to be two people. All right, that's what they say about Geminis. We're not here to discuss the particular individual of Gemini, but there's a reason why. Again, two people, split personality, all those things. They are the natural communicators of the zodiac. In fact, I would say probably the most accurate type of communication will come from the sign of Gemini. That is, if you've ever played the game telephone and, you say something to someone, they pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. And then, after the 10th person even, it's already completely different. Well, Geminis will tend to convey the story pretty close to exactly what was said, because they have the least corrupted communication. Now, don't hang on. And it's not without faults, however. But as far as repeating what they heard, they can repeat it pretty much the way it was heard from the source. However, the negative aspect of Gemini is also in the mouth. You see, the rule in Kabbalah is wherever the strength is, the weakness will be in the same place. But if you want to know, and any sign of the zodiac, if you want to know where your greatest strength is, look at where your greatest weakness is, okay? Now, and Geminis tend to be very quick in the mouth. They're air signs, so they're also quick thinking, which can also make them judgmental. Fire signs, air signs can be judgmental because they're very, they're quick in their mind with their thoughts. Doesn't necessarily mean they're right. Okay? I'm not saying that. But quick in the thoughts means I come to conclusions quickly. And when you come to conclusions quickly, you will tend to be judgmental because you already form an opinion, right or wrong. But you form an opinion right now. You may think you're right. Doesn't mean you are. But we call that the attribute of judgment. Again, that has two sides, okay? Depending on how we see things. So, let's talk a little bit about this idea of Gemini on a Kabbalistic from a Kabbalistic perspective. So the force of Gemini comes from what we call Chokhmah. Chokhmah, the level of wisdom. And that level of consciousness is also a pure force of light. It's a pure force of light. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that the Geminis in your life, they're light. We're not saying that. But it just means that they have the ability to channel things. And we all, in the month of Gemini, we all have that ability because every constellation, and the reason why we do this and share this knowledge as to how we can tap into it, because we all become that sign in any given month, and this is what the sign contributes to us for the rest of the year, according to the Kabbalah. That's why we do this. And so this month is excellent for developing your download skills. And I'm not talking about the downloads that are on our website, right? The tools that are there. Yeah, we have tools and downloads. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about, and if you understand what I'm saying, the downloads that we can get of information, knowledge, wisdom when we need it. Now, I don't know, we've all had different experiences, but let's use this as an example. When you're really trying to help somebody and you don't necessarily have an answer, but they really need help and they ask you or they come to you with their issue, sometimes you just open your mouth and stuff comes out. And it's good stuff, right? Like you're not making it up. You're receiving a download and you're channeling it, okay? You're able to channel things. Now, for different reasons, depending on what you're doing, I know a lot of people. I know when I used to public speak and I was, deathly afraid of public speaking until my teacher said, you know what, you're going to teach. And I said, no, I don't think so, but anyway, I ended up teaching and eventually overcoming the fears of public speaking. So after I got over that fear, and in fact, I'll tell you, one of the first or second, maybe third time that I got in front of an audience, I was warned, you might freeze up, okay? And the moment you begin to freeze, now you're in trouble because you begin to think now and you're standing in front of people and you begin to think about yourself and what they're thinking about you and the whole thing. So, but I was given a tool by one of my colleagues and he said, if that ever happens to you, just love the moment. Love the moment of the discomfort. Love that moment of freezing up and say, yes, this is amazing. Give me more. Say it in your mind. And you know what? And it happened to me. And I did that. And I will tell you, no kidding, just like that, a moment later, a stream of thought came to me. And my mouth started to move, stuff started to come out, and I had no clue where it was coming from. But I learned a lot, okay? And and I listened to a recording after the class, and I'm saying, "Who the heck was that? What was that?" And I had to listen to the class on my own, and the class that I gave, but I learned a lot from the class. So it's interesting that we can develop this as a life skill. Right? And it's probably for another talk, right? But how to channel energy or words, thoughts, ideas, if it's between you and somebody else, because hopefully the professional that you go to, if it's an attorney, if it's a doctor, if it's a mentor, if it's a psychologist, if you're receiving that kind of help, you want them to be a channel for you. You don't want them to give you their assistance from their own brain. That's going to be very limited, okay? This idea of a channel, and this idea exists in Gemini, and we can tap into the pipe for that, okay? And again, we have tools. Again, the tools in the download section on the website, QR code over here. Helps us do that, and using the angel of the month and the letters of the month, the Rishon design, will help us do that as well. So this divine wisdom, which comes from this stage called Chokhmah, that's available to us. And it is, you see, the way consciousness flows is things generally start with a flash, an insight, and then it goes through a process. We tend to limit it along the way during that process, how that flash becomes a thought, and the thought becomes, a potential of an action to be taken, and so on. Eventually, maybe it will be manifest, but we generally stop it along the way. And one of the ways we stop it is by thinking about it, overthinking about it. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but don't you need to think about it? Yes and no. Because when you're thinking, you're injecting your own limitations on that. And therefore, one of the things we need to do this month, if you want to get the most out of it, is just jot down those flashes, those insights. Jot them down. Jot them down. Don't think. Just write. Let the pen write, if you know what I mean. Okay, so this month as well, so how do we use the duality of this month? Well, there are those that would say, since this duality seems to represent a good and bad idea, Kabbalistically, it's not that way. It's light and the shadow. And like I mentioned before, the photograph and the negative. And remember, what did we say? How do you make more pictures? If you want more pictures, more positives, you need to use what? The negative. So I'll tell you what the Kabbalists teach. The Kabbalists teach anything that appears to us negative in our life is not really negative. Of course, if we think it's negative, it will become negative. But depending on our attitude and how we react to the negative, it becomes, pay attention, it becomes the vessel for the future light. So let's say you did something, wasn't too good. You could have acted differently. You could have, acted better. And you say, oh, it was so bad and so on. Okay? No, don't do that. Examine it, take it, and say, okay, the way I acted is the vessel for my future light. I'm going to use that. I'll give you an example, okay? And this is a personal example because I happen to be also Gemini. I'm Taurus and Gemini together. A lot of you asked that question. All right, the secret is out. This is revealing secrets here. So I used to always have power in my mouth, but I didn't use it the right way. And unfortunately, I hurt people, right? I was very quick to judge, and I would hurt people with my mouth. I was very sharp with my tongue and judgmental. And, I'm not saying that that's completely fixed, all right? I'm not here to tell you I'm a corrected product. But definitely not what it used to be years ago. But that's how it was, okay? And I didn't even know, by the way. I didn't even understand what I was doing. It just was sort of natural, and I didn't realize that I was even poking fun at people with my mouth, with my words. Well, once I came to realize it, I said, wait a minute, oh boy. This is not good the way I'm using the power of the speech. And since I have this ability and potential, which is right now being used as a negative, I'm going to learn how to use the same power, the same negative, with light, from the light side, not from the dark side. Now that's what I mean, okay? If this makes any sense to you. Meaning, don't discount the negative. Don't say, well, I wish I wasn't like this and, I got to get rid of it. No. This is your vessel for the future light. Don't cancel it out. Very important, okay? Your negative trait is your potential power for positivity. Remember, the photograph is made from what? Negatives. That's how you make more pictures. If you want to multiply the good, you need the negative. And that negative, by the way, doesn't leave us. For any sign of the zodiac, we all have negative traits. They don't go away. They're always going to be there as part of our DNA. But the reason why we learn these things is so that we can use them. And we can use them and transform them to create for us good. It's like saying this is our gasoline, this is our force, this is what's going to enable us to do more, is the negative trait. I mean, how crazy is that? But that's really how it is. So we use it to transform and use it as the vessel for the light of the future. Okay? Remember that. Remember that as a concept, as an idea. Okay. Okay. So what does this mean for us practically this month? Number one, higher mental clarity. Again, potentially to the degree that you use the tools and connect with the energy of the month, higher mental clarity, higher level of communication between my body and my soul. My body and my soul. That's very important, okay? Because our soul has it all, knows it all, but it's the barrier that we have between our ego, which is the body consciousness, and the soul that blocks, okay? But this month is the month of communication and to help us establish the accurate communication which the soul desires to have with our body. We can tap into that again by using the tools. Open up new channels of divine communication. So if you haven't used spiritual tools before, and even if you have, this is the month to go to another level, to go to the next stage of divine communication as well, to be able to tap into the spiritual forces, whether it's angels, the light of the Creator, which is, we don't necessarily are able to connect directly to that. That's why we have tools, that's why we have prayer, that's why we have different things to help us build vessels that we can receive that light and energy. Okay? And the letters, as we said, are Resh and Zion. Resh and Zion. Again, Resh for the planet Mercury, and Zion for the constellation of Gemini. Now, what is this? There are many secrets, but one of the secrets behind these letters. So, the letter Resh can be two things. Again, duality. It can mean in Hebrew, Rosh, which is head, which is the seed level of where things come from, or Rush, which means poor, okay? Lack, again, duality. The letter Zion can mean a weapon, a sword, right? Klei Zion in Hebrew is weapons of war, and in this case it means a sword. Now, a sword, we know, a proper sword spiritually has, they say, 4 sides, but we'll deal with 2 sides, which is the blade. 2 sides. Why 2 sides? Because it can destroy, that's one aspect, and it can also sever the connection to negativity, to negative consciousness, okay? Things that I should not be connected to. Difficulties, my correction in life, whatever that might be, I can cut it. Cut the cord to attachments which are not serving me. Cut the cord to negative traits which I do need to let go of. Cut the cord to negative environment, perhaps. Sometimes we need to change that environment. Cutting the cord, separation from negativity, okay? We usually speak about unity, but sometimes unity can only be achieved by what? Separation from negativity. And that's a positive thing, okay? If you're in a negative environment, you don't want to stay in a negative environment, okay? Now, I have to be careful when I say that because sometimes it doesn't mean to always run away from a situation. Sometimes I'm there to work through it and I have to learn something. So we need to quantify and qualify every situation that goes on. Okay. Also, we have the use of now in the download. You will see also tools and angels there, but here we're going to mention the angel Reuel. Reuel. Okay. And I don't believe that's on our download, so you'll need to take it from here, from the video. Reuel, which literally means like friend of God. Okay. What does that mean? It means an ability to connect more directly to the light, to the Creator light, to the force, as we've been speaking about in this month. So that's a tool we should use. And also for those of you who are doing the Ana Bekoach, the 42-letter name, refer to that video. If you're not, and I'll put the link for the video and the download in the comment section, rather. The 6th line of the Bekoach connects us to all the positive energy of Mercury. Okay, the 6th line of the Bekoach. All right, helpful things to do this month to get the most out of the energy of the month. Journal. If you've never journaled before, start this month. Journal and write down your thoughts and needs. Just write them down. You can do it daily. Daily is most effective if you can do that. Just it doesn't have. You don't write a whole Bible. You know, there's already a Bible. Just jot down a few words to illustrate what's on your mind, and then you're going to read it at the next day, and eventually at the end of the week, read all these things. They will hold a lot of insight for you, and you will realize many things about yourself, about your spiritual work, about your tikkun, meaning your spiritual connection. Number 2, this month, make an extra effort to speak with intention. So Geminis have a tendency to speak, sometimes too much. Yes, that's why you see some of these videos are too long. But speak with intention and consciousness. So don't just speak. Speak with the energy that's coming from your heart, not your head. Okay, Gemini is all about the head, the intellect, and just the thoughts, but not so much the heart. So this month we want to awaken the heart and couple the words with intention. It's the difference between saying, yeah, I love you, and really saying, I love you, right? Which we involve the heart, not just the head. You know what I mean. You understand what I'm saying. And of course, the final thing, I don't know, maybe it's one of the more important things. There's always many things, but listen more than you speak. This month, listen, also with intention. Truly listen. Don't just hear the people around you. Hearing is superficial. Really listening means you're really participating. Because again, unfortunately, in the month of Gemini, we can be more focused on what we want to say and less on what other people want to tell us and what we need to be hearing. Okay? So, all in all, I hope you're able to resonate with these things. This is the month of Gemini. It's tremendous opportunity, tremendous light, which is available in this month. And I wish for all of us to have an amazing month full of light. And that's, again, the whole secret of Gemini is to reveal the light that's been concealed. That's why the Rishon design means secret, because the secret is on the deeper level. Don't be the superficial Gemini. Be willing to go deeper to uncover the next level of depth in whatever you're doing. If it's your relationship, if it's your work, I've mastered it. I'm good. I know this already. I'm bored. Next. Well, you could do that, but you'll be missing out on the deeper level because the light has always been concealed underneath the surface. That's the rule. So be willing to go into it, go deeper into whatever it is that you're doing, and don't give up. Keep going deeper, and you'll reveal the secrets, which means the deeper level, which is the real light of whatever it is you're involved with. Be blessed, guys, and I will see you. Happy Gemini to all. I'll see you in the next video. All the best.